Senator Sanders is talking about free college education. Here, stand up for a second. Tell me your name.
Mary Magdalene Moser.
Mary Magdalene, I saw you nodding, shaking your head vigorously in disagreement to both arguments about the minimum wage and free college tuition. So maybe let's start on the latter, because the senator said he wanted an argument. What do you think of the idea of free college tuition?
That's the moment I stopped listening to anything coming out of your mouth when you said that, because it is so absurd. Who is going to pay for it? Why don't you address how college tuition has skyrocketed 6,000% since the 1980s? You can't have an industry where once you pass a seniority level, it is impossible to fire you. That's ridiculous. No other industry has that type of protection. That needs to go. Tenure needs to go.
Well, no, I don't think tenure needs to go, and I don't think, okay. But here is the point, okay, and it hasn't gone up 6,000%. It has gone up a lot, not 6,000%. So let's stick to the facts. But here is the issue, very simple issue. In the United States of America, Mary, do you think all people, regardless of their income, all young people, should have an equal right to get a college education, or should that only benefit the wealthy or upper middle class?
I believe the way the United States works as it is today, where every single human being in the United States has the opportunity to go to college. I do not believe it is a right, and I do not believe that I should be expected to pay for not only my education and my children's, but somebody else's as well.
But Mary, when we are losing at least $100 billion every single year because large multinational corporations stash their money in the Cayman Islands and other tax havens, that's not you who's going to be asked to pay more in taxes. We have massive levels of income and wealth inequality. Corporation after corporation doesn't pay a nickel in taxes. Donald Trump, a multi-billionaire, proudly told us he doesn't pay a nickel in federal taxes.
Why was Jeffrey Immelt, Barack Obama's
That's an interesting response. Say that again.
Then why was Jeffrey Immelt, CEO of GE, who proudly declared he paid 0% in corporate taxes?
Right.
Why did Barack Obama name him his chief economic advisor?
You are damn right. That was a stupid thing to do. All right, so I'm not here. You were right.
Thank you, thank you.
And by the way, Jeffrey Immelt, many, many years ago, got up before a group of people. You know what he said? He said, and I quote you, "When I look at the future of General Electric, one of the largest corporations in America, I see China, 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 and China." All right? That was Jeffrey Immelt. And you are quite right. GE in a given year paid 0 in federal income taxes. But my point is, in the wealthiest country in the history of the world, it is wrong to say that we are the wealthiest. In terms of total wealth, we are.
Right.
But the point is, in this country, with our wealth, I think it is grossly unfair that working class kids simply do not have the necessary income to get a college education. And I think we should do what Germany does and many other countries and say that when we talk about public education, we're not just talking about first grade through 12th grade, we're talking about college as well.
Here, I want to talk to you for a second. Your producer, my producer spoke to you. Stand up for a second. Your name is Rima, right?
Yes.
Tell me your full name.
Rima Ahmed.
You know, Rima, I'm curious. There are a whole bunch of prisms to understand this election, right? We talk about manufacturing. We talk about the middle class. There are people who feel that really the driving force of Donald Trump was bigotry, or was all kinds of sort of ways that he was able to scapegoat folks. And I'm curious what you think the sort of analysis is.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Trump's campaign was a campaign of hate. I'm a community organizer. In the primary, I was running a campaign actually down in Illinois. I was a Bernie supporter, did switch over to Hillary in the general election, and it's because for me, for the communities that I'm a part of, for the community that I want to be a part of, Trump posed a real threat to our existence in this country. And I say this as someone who's born and raised in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I'm a Wisconsinite, I'm a Midwesterner, I'm an American. So, yeah.
When you say posed a real threat to the existence of the communities you're part of, what do you mean by that?
I mean folks of color. I mean communities of immigrants. I mean Trump has talked about putting folks that look like me on a national registry. I mean we're thinking about Japanese internment. And I'm also talking about other immigrant communities that have benefited from DAPA and DACA. What are those communities going to do? Are my friends, are my family members going to be deported now? People who call this country home, people who identify as Americans, is this what's going to happen? This is terrifying. And I say this also as somebody who has family members who voted for Trump. I come from a multi-ethnic, multi-religious family, and this is something we tried not to talk about on Thanksgiving. But it's scary to see, to know that neighbors, family members, may look past the threat that Trump poses to our very livelihood just because they wanted something different.
I want you to respond to that. You're shaking your head, Matt. What do you make of that?
Well, let's ask everybody up here. I mean, what Reamer is saying, let me just throw it out. She is saying that Trump won a whole lot of votes based on bigotry, trying to turn one group of people against the other. What do you guys think?
No.
Okay, well, just tell us.
He stirred a dialogue. There's not one person in this room, Democrat or Republican or Independent, that would allow anything to happen like that, even our Congress. That would not be acceptable to anybody. And he just started the dialogue, and the dialogue has changed, and it's gotten better. None of that's ever going to happen. I was not even...
He's proposing legislation, though. He's
proposing
bringing back a national registry. He's proposing removing DAPA and DACA. These are
in the first place, you can't promote that. That's anti-religion. It's against our Constitution.
I agree.
That's never going to pass. And even if it went to the Supreme Court, I don't care, it would be thrown out. He can propose all he wants. It's got to go through our Congress first. That's another buffer zone we have.
Do other people? This was something that I encountered a lot when I talked to Trump voters, who would say very similar things. They would basically say the things that he says that are the worst things, like the Muslim ban, for instance, that's just him talking smack, basically, and it's not going to happen. I'm curious what you three think of that. Is that how you thought of it, or do you think, I hope he does that, or?
No, I hope he does not do that. No, I mean, I would never want to see anybody thrown out just because of their beliefs or their. I mean, that's awful. No.
Gail?
To some extent, I'm hoping it is, being one that works in a factory. And I have tried to finish my college degree to be in this factory to do the job I'm doing. But because there's so many illegals in there, I can't get the pay I should get.
So you think illegal, undocumented immigrants are threatening your pay, and you hope he does deport a lot of them?
Well, not including the fact, it's even been said on radio, that a lot of them that get stopped don't pay their tickets. They go to Mexico and hide. They get away with it. They don't pay their taxes. They go to Mexico and hide, and then come back. I've seen this. It's upsetting.
Senator, you want to respond to that?
Well, did you want to, Richard, did you want to?
I think that a lot of what he says is just unimplementable rhetoric, just to gain attention, and it would never be congressionally approved.
Well, as somebody who was in the Congress, let me not, I'm not quite so sure that you're right. But I think that there's no question to my mind, and I find it interesting that what 3 out of 4 of you are saying is, yeah, he talked about that stuff, but it'll never happen. We don't believe that it will ever happen. Why do you vote for somebody who, in a sense, then is lying?
Started a dialogue with the American people, and he used the media to get his point across, and he's changed his view. He wasn't lying. He started the dialogue. He voiced his opinion, and he got feedback, and he addressed it as he went along. He knows as well as anybody in this room, you can't go after a group of people because of religious beliefs. It's never, and I knew that right off the bat. Well, but he was still up front, and he talked to the public.
Well, it's an interesting point. I mean, what you're saying is that you think, and I think, that what he was talking about was unconstitutional. Yet you got a candidate for President of the United States talking about grossly unconstitutional things. and wins an election.
Well, look what our Congress does. They pass unconstitutional laws every day.
Can I ask one thing?
Yeah, please.
You know, I'm
Can I ask
sitting
two
here.
things?
Oh, thank you. I might make it 3. I'm sitting here and I'm listening to all this. And, you know, as she says, who's paying for this? Right? Who's paying for the Medicaid? Who's paying for the Social Security? Who's paying for the Medicare? Who? Thank you. We are. Now, have any of you seen down on streets that it seems as though we have become the silent minority and not the majority?
What do you mean by that?
How much have we been listened to, really?
But who's the we when you say this? You mean
Us people.
who people?
The
White
people who need the Medicare, the people who need the Social Security, who needs the help with the education.
Okay, but now here's good point. Let's see if we can go forward on this. I am assuming that you believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that we should not cut Social Security or Medicare or Medicaid. Is that correct or not?
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe it shouldn't be cut.
Okay. Do you know who is now working very hard to try to do that? Republicans in Congress have a plan under the guise of saving Medicare and saving Social Security, making devastating cuts. That's what the Republicans are now trying to do. The other point that you made, which is I think you made it, or both of you have made it actually, is who's going to pay for this stuff? And that is a very fair point. What all of us should know is that over the last 25 years, there has been a massive transfer of wealth in this country from you to the top 1/10 of 1%. In other words, the middle class has shrunk and trillions of dollars have gone to the top 1/10 of 1%. Do you think it's inappropriate to ask those people to start paying their fair share of taxes so we can adequately fund Medicaid and making public colleges and universities tuition free? Is that an unfair thing to ask?
I don't think it's an unfair thing to ask. The 1%ers, they got rich off us.
That's right.
So it's time they put back.
Okay.